Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Carp Commander YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a short video demonstrating the pay lake rig. Now this is something a lot of people getting started into pay laking have questions about. They often wonder, what size lead do I use, what type of lead, what size hook, what type of line. Well, this video will cover all of that, everything from the lead to the hook to the line to even the swivel, if you're concerned about that. So to start, a lot of people have problems finding the right hook. Now, the right hook can be very different from lake to lake. However, the most common size hook is probably a size 2 eagle claw wide bend hook. They're offset, they've got a nice curve to them, they've got a wide gap. It's very efficient for hooking the carp. Another hook that I actually recommend is the Gamakatsu Octopus hook size 2. Very sharp hook, it's got a nice bend on it for carp. It'll hook the fish every time because they are considerably sharper than the average eagle claw hook is, and which is something you will prefer when you're trying to hook fish that don't have very great lips. Now, the third and final hook that I have here is just an eagle claw bait holder hook, just a size 1. This might look like an odd hook because the bend on it isn't very wide and it doesn't have much of an offset. I use this hook for buffalo. If you don't know already, buffalo have a very small mouth and it can be difficult to hook them. You want a hook with a smaller bend in it for buffalo. The Gamakatsu hook can also work for this. I usually have a specific rod with one of these two rigged up trying to catch buffalo, and I usually use the eagle claw wide bend or another type of hook I use for a specific lake to catch common carp. Moving on from the hooks, we have the leads. Now, a lot of people like to use these no-roll sinker leads. Basically, they're a flat lead, and they're designed to not roll so that when the fish picks up the hook, the lead cannot go anywhere. It will not move and it will not roll. This creates solid tension between the hook and the lead, making the hook set itself, basically. The only tension is between the hook and the tip of your rod if the fish runs straight away from the lead, which obviously will set off your alarm or your drag, whichever one you prefer to use. A good lead can be the secret to a solid hook set. There have been times when I've been to a lake with small leads and the hooks just won't enter the fish's mouth. There's a day I was fishing with 1/4 ounce leads in a new lake, and these carp would just keep spitting the hook every time. It's because the lead was not heavy enough to physically hook them. This can be one of the main factors in even getting a carp hooked at all when fishing in a pay lake. So for lead sizes, I would personally recommend 3/4 ounce, which is this one on the left, to a 1 ounce. 1 ounce can be a little heavy in some situations. I use 1 ounce leads on bigger bodies of water with bigger fish. The 3/4 ounce leads I will use in smaller ponds or pay lakes, well, with more pickier fish that don't want to feel that lead as much as the 1 ounce, but it will still do the job with setting the hook. That's what you need to find a good balance between a solid hook set and a solid lead that will hide from the fish. That's often another reason why they use flat leads. They often blend in with the soil around and the fish cannot see them. Now, moving on from leads, we can talk about the line. Now, for me personally, I use 20-pound mono for everything. I put 20-pound mono on my rods, I put 20-pound mono on my rigs, and it works great. Some people use 17 and 15-pound. Most people use 17-pound suffix, the multicolored stuff, because it's cheap and it's easy to bait or easy to spool a lot of it on a large reel, like most bait casters that pay lake fishermen use. It stretches well and it holds the fish well, which is what you're looking for. You don't need a 65-pound test line to catch carp, as long as you fight the fish slow, which is what you have to do in most situations anyway. Monoline can also result in a lower number of lost fish. Once again, as I said, the line stretches, and this can ease the tension on the fish if you're using a heavy action rod, and it can just overall help with the just the control over the fish. Sometimes I use really heavy braid though for carp fishing if I'm using a softer rod. So it can really be a toss up with whatever you prefer, but what works best is usually mono as the main line. Now finally, I'm going to talk about these swivels I have here. Obviously you can use just about any size swivel as long as it is strong, and at least a 20-25 pound test is probably what you're looking for. There isn't going to be a situation where you have a swivel break. Like, there's very few times I've ever seen a swivel break, and the ones I have had break were little tiny bluegill swivels, so you don't have to worry about that. Just get a swivel that's, once again, 20 to 25 pound test, maybe 30 if you're feeling not confident about it, and it'll be good to go there. One thing I did forget to mention with the line is that a very popular line used at pay lakes is this really high pound test nylon. It's black and it's like rope. It's real strong, probably 80 pound test if I had to guess. The stuff will not break. It lasts forever. Nothing can cut it unless you have like a knife right on it or scissors right on it. It's extremely difficult to cut underwater, so if you run up against rocks, it's not going to break on you. And it's just super reliable, and it's soft, so the fish cannot detect it as easily as it could mono on your rig. I personally don't experience a difference between using this nylon and the mono. However, I prefer the nylon for fish that are a little bit harder to hook. So pickier fish, I prefer to use this darker colored nylon, but I mostly use mono just for price. The nylon can be a little expensive. Moving on, I'm going to show you how to properly bait and rig up a pay lake rig. So some people pack their bait around the lead, and some people pack their bait around the hook after they put their kicks or corn puff or pickup on it, whatever you want to use. In this next segment, I'm going to show you how to pack your bait around the hook using an oatmeal pack bait. Okay guys, so I'm back. I've got the pan of water ready, I've got my oats ready, and I've got the rig ready with 2 kicks on it. I'm going to show you how to pack the bait. So if you pack the bait around the lead, you just basically shove some bait onto there and roll it around in your hand until it's strong enough to throw. It'll be pretty easy to know. However, if you pack the bait around the hook, which is what I suggest doing, there's a little bit of a trick to it. So what you want to do is take your handful of bait. This is some oats I made. You want to get about a palm full and stick your hook right in the center of it, just perfectly in the center. If you do not stick your hook in the center, it will be uneven, and then you want to just squeeze on it for a second. Once you squeeze, it should form this kind of oval shape. Then you just want to work it back and forth until it forms a kind of cylinder around your hook. It should be very strong, and you should be able to cast it extremely far. Make sure your hook is evenly placed within the bait, or else when the bait breaks down, it will not be evenly with the bait on the bottom of the lake. So I've got my bait packed. This is what the whole rig looks like. And I'm going to put it in my water for it to break down. As you can see, the bait is bubbling. This should happen. This means it is breaking down. If your bait is not bubbling right away, it probably isn't going to break down very well, which you should look out for this. So as the bait breaks down, which you can see, the first victims have broken down right here. It'll slowly shed from the outside, and eventually it'll split in half, and the hook will pop out, and the corn puff will float up and hover the hook right above the bait. This will allow the carp to come by and suck up the corn puff and put the point of that hook right in the bottom or corner of its mouth, which is ideally where you want it. As you can see, this bait is making a cloud of flavoring around the edge, which is also ideal. Now for like a little test session, you can see these corn puffs are starting to stick out. Let's say a carp come by and just hits the bait a little. I'll push it around. Hits it again. These corn puffs and the hook are right in the middle of this bait pile. So if the carp continues to eat the bait, eventually the hook will just go right into the fish's mouth. And like so. Most of your bait should ideally break down in about 1 to 2 minutes like this bait did. This is a very fast breaking bait. It is a syrup old-fashioned oats bait, which I will actually show you how to make in the next episode. So if you enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.